And I recognize that there are still people on Guam that may be using AI technologies, that may be hearing about AI, that may be interested in knowing about more about AI, but just don't have a way to implement that. And so this Humans in AI event is to bring awareness to the potential that AI can bring to the island. And again, we are focusing on more grassroots movement. So instead of being like, okay, Anthropic's coming to Guam, OpenAI, or these large tech companies, Google and so on, come to Guam, we're gonna go from bottom up. So like the people who are interested in it, the people who want to progress this technology forward, can start here, and you have a trusted, localized set of people, humans in Guam, to propel the same mission.
Half a day, it's your innovation coach, Rob Jackson, and welcome to another edition of the Innovate Guam Podcast, the podcast where we explore all things innovation, technology, and improvement related to the island of Guam. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow me on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Substack. My podcasts drop at the beginning of each week. Also, be sure to check out my Innovate column in the Pacific Daily News every other Friday of each month. Our guest for today's podcast is making his, I think, third, maybe fourth appearance on the Innovate Guam podcast. And he continues to embody what I like to call young Guam excellence. He's a son of Guam, a JFK graduate who went off island, built a major tech career, and then made the decision to come back home. He graduated summa cum laude in electrical engineering and mathematics from the University of Alabama and earned his master's in computer science from Georgia Tech University. Professionally, he's worked as a software engineer in companies like Honeywell, MaxX, FinTech Space, and Indeed, where he served as a senior software engineer and technical lead. He's also the founder of Guam Software Services, LLC, the founder of Guam Technology Training and Apprenticeship nonprofit, and he's been actively teaching, mentoring, and investing in our young people right here in the island. Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you Mr. Jordan Elizaga. Jordan, welcome back to the Innovate Guam podcast.
Hello, Rob. Thank you for having me.
So glad to have you back. So today we're bringing you back for a very specific reason. You are helping to bring to attention to an upcoming Humans in AI event being planned for Guam. I looked at the Humans in AI Week website, and oh, by the way, for our listeners, that link will be in the description so you can go and check that out. But it frames this Humans in AI Week as a global time capsule, right? Asking a powerful question: what does it mean to be human in the AI era? And I think that's a really interesting question. That's the exact kind of question and conversation that Guam needs to be a part of. So, Jordan, for the people hearing about this for the first time, what is Humans in AI?
That's a great question, Rob. Humans in AI it's a event sponsored by the AI Collective, which is a 501(c)(3) nonprofit that started on in Oregon with six guys hanging out in their house, that has grown from that group to a global community with chapters all over the world. And this year, they wanted, in addition to their mission, to bring together and pledge your voice with the Human in AI website. So if you go on the website called humansinaiweek.com, and you can tell and pledge your voice about the different concerns you have about AI, the feelings you have about AI, whether it's good or bad, and just get it recorded with the many global participants that are part of this endeavor. And so I'm very forward about AI. I think it's a good tool that is used for good. It can be used for good. And this is an opportunity for you and the people of Guam and everybody listening to be part of this global commitment.
Wow, it sounds very exciting. Why is this not just another tech event or AI conference? What makes this different?
The Human in AI Week is different from the AI Collective does a ton of events all locally based on their specific chapters. I'm a chapter organizer in Atlanta and recently a chapter organizer in Guam. And there are chapter organizers all over the world, from Pakistan and Europe. Here in New Zealand, I met with the people here in New Zealand, um, in Oregon, in San Francisco, New York, every city that you can think of, and they're continuing to grow. The Human and AI Week is a global event that starts this next week, in the beginning of June, and it ends at the end of that week. And what it does is it's a combination of events that's focused on the human side of AI. So other events are focused on mixers, other events have sponsors, other events have educational activities. This event is specifically for people to meet and to talk about AI in a human manner. We can discuss our fears, we can discuss what we like about it, and it's just a way to collaborate globally on the same at the scale that the AI Collective is moving forward. And part of the question that a lot of us are asking is, and some of us may not be aware, is that the AIC, the AI Collective mission, is that they recognize that AI's power, when concentrated into a small group of individuals or small groups of organizations, can really sway the global economic, social, and business landscapes that's going to affect everyone's lives. And the AIC is a grassroots movement to allow people like us who are not involved in large corporations, large enterprises, to be involved in the development of AI, the development of regulations and rules and guidelines and guardrails that will progress AI in a positive way.
Yeah, that's really exciting. It's really exciting, the idea that this is taking root here in Guam. The idea that people like yourself and other leaders are getting together to establish a chapter here on Guam, so Guam can be part of this global conversation to move AI forward and move AI forward in a way that, looks at the human piece of it behind the scenes. So I'm really excited about that.
Yes, it's a very exciting time to be alive, Rob.
So why bring a humans and AI event to Guam? Why
So
Guam?
Guam is very important to me because I'm from Guam. I was born and raised from Guam. I went to JFK. I'm from Dedido, and I'm doing all these events and activities in the contiguous United States. I'm based in Atlanta. That's where my businesses are, and I'm a chapter organizer there. And I recognize that there are still people on Guam that may be using AI technologies, that may be hearing about AI, that may be interested in knowing about more about AI, but just don't have a way to implement that. And so this Humans in AI event is to bring awareness to the potential that AI can bring to the island. And again, we are focusing on more grassroots movement. So instead of being like, okay, Anthropic's coming to Guam, OpenAI, or these large tech companies, Google and so on, come to Guam, we're gonna go from bottom up. So like the people who are interested in it, the people who want to progress this technology forward, can start here, and you have a trusted, localized set of people, humans in Guam, to propel the same mission.
So how should island communities like Guam think differently about AI compared to large mainland tech hubs?
That's a really good question. And I've been thinking deeply about this question. And part of the reason is AI is run on data centers. For better, for worse, it's all over the news. But the data centers are the necessary piece to have these centers, or to have this technology running. And these island communities are very dependent on importing materials. So, well, one, it's not likely to have data centers on the islands, but it is likely that we need AI and LLMs and other technology tools to help us further our economic development. But that makes us dependent on countries or locations or organizations that do own the data centers, countries or organizations that do own the compute and the GPUs to run the AI models. And as I am here speaking from New Zealand, they have the same problem. Every island nation in Oceania, in the Atlantic, the Faroe Islands, and so on, around South America, around the Caribbean, around Europe. All these islands have the same issues that we are dependent on the compute that is provided from a larger landmass area. And what that means for the island is that in order to compete, in order to provide services at the global scale in technology, we have to know what our unique and strategic advantages are to make use of this disadvantage. So in New Zealand, part of what they're doing is they're focusing on energy and energy production and energy reliance on their own grid and their own resources. Because with recent geopolitical tensions, oil has been and energy resources have been hard to come by, especially
Right,
for island nations like New Zealand. Guam is in a
right,
very special place because we are allies with the US. I mean, we're a US territory and we can get liquid natural gas, which is a common US export. I mean, the US is an exporter of oil. So we don't have those geopolitical tensions as other island nations do across the Pacific. Now, whether or not AI can help us solve that answer, I'm not too sure, but it can definitely help us understand and research more about the problem and maybe uh, help get us to that energy solution for these island nations faster.
yeah, it's really interesting you talk about that. As I look at Guam, Guam's again, geography is the gift that keeps giving, right? So many of the key um, undersea cables that connect the US West Coast with Asia run through Guam. Guam is like a node, an important node and junction for a lot of these, the digital backbone. And because of that, uh, people have suspected that this would be a great place to maybe stage data centers, strategic kind of data centers. And I look at the three data centers that are nearing the end of their construction right now on Guam. There's one in Tamuning, one in Pidi, and I don't remember where the third one is. But all of those are now starting to take shape. It's going to be exciting to see what we can get out of that. And does that is that something that propels us forward, or do we find that we don't really have a use case for it because we're so remote or whatever? But I suspect it's probably the former, that there is a strategic importance of this important node that connects Asia with the United States, having strategic data centers here for the compute power. Now, of course, we'll never have it to the level of like some of these larger ones in places like Texas and California, et cetera, because they're such energy hogs, right? And we can't generate that much energy. So then the question is, for the amount of energy that we can produce, what's the right kind of data center to put here to enable not just the best interest of the island, but the system as a whole? What do you think about that?
Another great question, Rob. And I do have a proposed solution for this. It's called edge nodes. What edge nodes are um, if you think of like these data centers as like this massive centralized data piece, an edge node would be a data center that doesn't have like that general purpose power, that doesn't need that energy, but it can be run on like local servers, local GPUs. You buy an RTX from NVIDIA, like an RTX 5080, 6080. I don't know the numbers to this, but if you buy a GPU and run it on your local system, then you can run an AI model that will help with your business, that will help run OpenClaw or some kind of agent harness to enable
Yeah,
that equivalent power. I mean, it's not as strong, but again, we're not working with like 10,000 engineers on a specific product every day, like Google or these companies hosting these massive data centers. We're doing this for like business and we're using it to help fix our emails. And we need small language models for that. And so
right.
what these small language models look like and how they can be hosted is the current data centers that exist in Tamuning in PD. Um, they can house these GPU racks, these GPU data centers to run localized compute, specifically Olama, specifically. I mean, there's a few foreign models that I won't advocate for, but Olama is a commercial domestic one we can use
Uh-huh.
through the sovereign territory of the U.S. and of Guam. And part of the reason I support like this data centers being on Guam and not depending on relying on data centers outside of Guam is data resilience. What if the something crashes under the water and like we're not connected in that way? What if you know availability is an issue and being more dependent on our own data. So if we produce the data that we need, then we can keep that data more secure within our island territory.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's pretty exciting when you think through that possibilities because it's not just for uh, the local government and the local businesses of Guam, but again, that strategic, geostrategic national defense mission, right? And Guam is the point of the spear for that. So one would argue that maybe there might be an important part of data and compute capability that's needed for the Indo-PACOM mission that sits right here in Guam. And because of that defense need and that defense requirement, then it trickles down into goodness for the local government, for the local industry and marketplace. So I think there's a lot of opportunities for that. Can you tell me about any place that is doing some of these edge nodes right now that's successful?
Fortunately, I am not aware of these edge nodes, but fortunately, I do have the specifications and documents to implement these edge nodes in our island communities, and that includes Hawaii, that includes Guam, the CNMI, Saipan, Tini, and Roto, once we can get the economic redevelopment back up and running. But essentially, an edge node can be considered as a standalone computer, like your basic personal computer that can host a GPU, that can be attached to a GPU, like an NVIDIA chip or an AMD chip. And in that chip, you could run an LLM model as an edge node from a larger node. Or Anthropic could also, we could partner with one of the hyperscalers like Anthropic, Gemini, OpenAI, Olama. And what that looks like is we could distill their model into a specific model based on Guam's needs. And this is a type of small language model that we can utilize at the edge node of these islands.
Yeah, that's really exciting. It sounds like what you're saying is that Guam actually has the opportunity to be on the cutting edge of this, really being an experimental sandbox to kind of work out the details and prove out these concepts for the betterment of the island community as well as the system writ large.
That's right. Yeah. And to add to that, what that would look like in a specific business context is Guam is heavily dependent on tourism as I was growing up and as we see the statistics from the Guam Visitors Bureau. And right now, if you try to generate an image for tourism on an island, you might get something that looks, because it uses trained data from the entire world, you might get something that looks like Tahiti, from Hawaii, from Fiji, but not
Yeah,
from
yeah,
Guam.
yeah, yeah.
So what a small language is able to let us do at the edge is we can train it on data that we collect on Guam
Yes.
and use that to generate like marketing and other tourism needed like business profiles for the island of Guam that is geared to what our island has to offer. So it doesn't look, there's no mismatch of expectations and reality when we have the actual data that the AI uses to generate.
Yeah, this is exciting because this goes into some other conversations that I've had with people like Ryan Mummert and Dr. Sam Mabini Young about the idea of that one, Guam needs a data strategy, right? Because right now we have all of these silos and pockets of data, and there's lots of silos of data that's even being either not used or underused or not even being captured. And that we need a centralized data repository so that the data that's being collected, we can train models, we can clean up the data, and the recommendation is that great place to house that centralized repository will be the University of Guam. Therefore, the students who are going through data science uh, program could use that database to train and evolve and perfect their skills. The instructors, the faculty, the professors who are doing the research would have ready access to this. And then for the business community or the government of Guam, they have a centralized, trusted repository of a source data, if you will, rather than being able to say, I don't know if I really trust that data coming out of this department or this agency or whatever. You would have one place to house it and it would be kind of sucked up there. So it brings up a lot of different ideas and opportunities. What do you think about that?
With the data, that data problem exists everywhere in this world, and I think it's a more like higher level problem that needs to be solved. My proposed solution is a more agnostic approach to data, one that focuses on how do we interact with the data rather than storing on a centralized database. Because there is at the engineering level of trying to put everything all in one place, it's the same problem with putting all our eggs in one basket. What happens when the data goes down? What happens when it runs too slow? How are we going to scale it? Who's going to pay for it? And reversing how that looks like is the specifications of like, okay, this is how my data looks like. This is how you access it. And then a centralized federated service that may or may not be operated by the government of Guam to determine who has access to what information. So for example, the Freedom of Information Act, they have the rights to uncover all the information that's regarded to those that should be revealed by the FOIC Act. And that is an interface, a specification that we can follow to make sure the data that we share on the island is used throughout the businesses, throughout partners, and throughout the government and the military.
Yeah, I like that. And that does make sense. Um, Tell me, Jordan, what risks should Guam be paying attention to, especially uh, in terms of like digital equity, access, education, job displacement, data privacy, and cultural identity? You hear a lot of the negative aspects and the negative concerns when people talk about AI, particularly on small island communities like Guam. They're concerned about those kind of things. How do we manage those risks?
Well, that's a lot of things that you put on the table. And if I could blanket statement a solution, and that is to have these dialogues and to continue talking about these risks as we go through them. With other technologies, for example, the cloud and SaaS revolution, we got to bury our heads in the sand and a few people got to solve the problem. And we just use whatever solution was available. For example, if you work at a business and you have like some cruddy like application where it works at the time, you're always asking for support. Like it works, it's fine. You can still move on. But um, this technology, to make it very clear what's happening, is it's growing exponentially. It in the last 2 years, it couldn't write a line of codes. And if you see what it does today, it writes entire business enterprise applications without us knowing. And so that's at the engineering level. How does it affect people outside of engineering? Well, the entry level job market for data analysts basically went away. So if you were studying for data analytics and you had no niche to fall onto or no networks to rely on, then the data analyst job that you were looking for has been completely replaced. And personally, I will use an AI model for simple data analytics tasks. So as a human,
Mm,
what advantage can they bring beyond an AI model? And I know that can cause a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And I'm saying even with someone of my technical expertise or someone with more technical expertise on me, we are also not safe of being replaced because
yeah,
when more data gets trained up to the level of professionalism, up to the level of
right.
expertise, and eventually the machine model can do anything that we are capable of producing in the first place to communicate with each other. And so what does that
Okay.
mean? I think this leads to a bigger question of like what, and a lot of the leaders have been talking about it. They've been sounding alarm. sounding the alarm. Elon has been suggesting some form of UXI or UBI. Anthropic has been Dario Amodei from Anthropic has been continuously writing about this topic. Um, I have a certain thoughts about Altman, but I follow the leadership and I follow what they're saying. And essentially, we are going to move towards a new economic system that relies on these AI machines to produce a lot of the value that humans used to produce. For example, agriculturally, we used to have to farm things, but things can be fully automated with farm machines. If you ever drove across like the Great Plains, or if you drove across like Idaho or some places in the States, like, yeah, you can have someone in the tractor for safety reasons, but they're not really doing much. There's a GPS monitor and they're looking at it from the satellite and it can move autonomously. And then on that now has been shifted to the intelligence side of like data, of inference, of thinking. And so the question, in my personal opinion, is that we are going to ask ourselves questions about meaning, about purpose. And personally, for me, I've moved towards a very spiritual sense and a faith in the Lord that has helped me determine how to move forward and what next steps I should take.
Right,
So if you,
right.
yes, yes.
So how do we drive investment in this? Because I know that when I talk to the folks at Gita, like Miss Pinky over there and others, Gita really wants to award grants and investments into entrepreneurs who are doing these kind of things or whatever, but it doesn't seem like there's much of it going on. They would really like to put money there. Instead, a lot of the small businesses that are being developed on Guam are more like the crafts, the arts, the food trucks, the you know cultural related stuff. Um, you know, uh, those kind of things. So, how do we generate more of a tech savvy, entrepreneurial workforce of people who are thinking about this stuff like that, who can apply for the Gita grants in order to start building this stuff in a Guam specific way?
Really good question. Yes, Guam does have a lot of cultural and like handicrafts and other artistic endeavors, which is actually leads into how we can apply tech to this tech in this way. So those businesses and industries support like local tourism. Like people want to buy handcrafted made items from Guam and then take it home. People want to export, like buy exports from Guam when they're made from like master craftsmen in Guam. And so we have avenues on the product side. The product side looks like, these handcrafted products and goods that we make using AI tools that can help us do 3D modeling, that can help us prototype more quickly, that can help us create these posters more quickly. Again, trained on Guam's data, trained on images that we take on Guam. Like you can have, for example, a small business owner take a few pics around the island, take a few pics about their life. I mean, right now, the product/slash service that they're offering is like a local lifestyle marketing channel on Instagram, on TikTok, on the social media platforms, YouTube. I personally have been recording like my drives on Guam, so I have like um, a mounted camera, and as I drive on Guam, I
Yes,
just record what's in front of me because people love watching those things. And then on the
right.
services side, tourism services. So this helps tourism. And on the tourism side, um, I was having, we had a chat about like running for office and everything. One of the plans I had was we need to license Guam. We need to license the media production. For example, we are moving to a more augmented 3D reality. And so someone with a 3D gyroscope can go on Guam, record everything, and capture the beauty and essence of Guam in that device and sell it in their country. So what I am suggesting is we need a way to license the recordings of capturing the beauty of the island so that there's some licensing fee back to Guam that either if they recorded, they need a license to record, or if they're going to produce and sell and distribute that outside the island, there needs to be some kind of licensing distribution and IP protection so that Guam can survive off of that. Because why would in a more theoretical future, what would make someone want to go to Guam if they can already have it at their virtual living room? And then
Right.
leading, and then the final thing is when tourists come to Guam, what AI can help us do is we can create better marketing materials. We can use it to help augment our services. For example, informational services. It's like really hard to give someone a lot of information across various different languages. Right now, our current markets are the Philippines, Japan, Korea, and Australia. But what if we can open that market to people from Vietnam, from Malaysia, from Indonesia, all these different languages, and we can use AI to do that translation for us in real time. So we have
Right.
voice generators that can convert live text and live audio transcript to live speech, that we can have this two-way communication that we didn't have before the advent of LLM technologies.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my previous podcast guests, Aline Wall, I was talking to you about her earlier. Um, she really has some patented technologies and products that she was trying to sell to Guam's um, tourism industry with, like uh, a concierge avatar, if you will, that could speak and engage and book appointments and stuff like that for hotels or for properties or what have you, and um, harvesting the digital twin piece of it to be able to go through the property and see exactly what you're looking at and give people a sense or feel for what this looks like. So uh, even if you're thousands of miles away, you can get a sense of, oh, I really like this. Oh, this space is really good, or whatever. But it's just interesting that people are very slow on island to want to adopt the technology. No one really wants to be first. They kind of want to do it when they have to do it. And it's just easier to keep doing what they've been doing for decades.
Right. Investment is hard on Guam, one, because it carries significant risks. Like with any investment, for example, in the US, and I think there's also this issue in New Zealand as I'm here listening to people, but the island only has 200,000 people. And in
Right.
terms of, um, recurring revenue, productizations, it's like, unless there's a way to serve like a total market cap of more people, and that's generally through tourism and the military, then it's very hard to convince an investor to invest on such a small island with such a small market versus their local city that probably has 1 million people or more, to easily get better numbers on their investment. And so
Yeah.
my suggestion,
My
yeah,
my concern has always been that business leaders on island not seeing the benefit of this new technology and being concerned or hesitant about moving forward and just wanting to stay with what they've been doing, because they could be the difference makers in those hospitality spaces, in those defense support, defense sustainment kind of roles. You know what I mean?
absolutely. And I think maybe to add to your point is, I think everyone on Guam is trying their best to understand how they can use it in their business to be forward thinking. Again, the associated risk, and I feel like I can come in here and suggest a few things, such as like how can we, improve efficiencies in the business so that they have more time to focus on like higher value tasks and
Right,
higher value
right,
products and services.
right, right.
Um,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, Jordan, let's go ahead and shift gears and start talking more specifically about the Humans in AI event being planned for Guam. Uh, Tell us all of the who, what, where, why kind of thing about the event coming up next week, and what should they be expecting?
Great. So this event, as you can see here, if you scan this event, it goes to a Luma page that's hosted by the AI Collective platform. I'd like you to RSVP with your email, your phone number, and why you want to, and potential questions about what you have about the AI Collective. And specifically for humans and AI, we're going to be talking about how you use AI in your daily life, in your personal life, in your business life, and in all across your life and the way you use it with your families. And we want to focus on the emotions that are associated with it, not the technology, but like how does this make us feel? Um, what are we doing about it? What can we do about it? How can we get this dialogue going? And the people who I suggest that this event is for AI leaders who are already positive thinking about AI, or even skeptics. If you're welcome to go join with an open mind, we would like you here to talk to you about what you're concerned about, because we do want to address them. And the point of this is to gather more people who may be interested in grassroots movement through the Guam AI Collective chapter. You can be part of this organization. You can then become a chapter organizer yourself and start hosting your own events. And essentially, it's a way to connect sponsors and attendees to an event platform. Um, and it's hosted by a global initiative here. You can sign the pledge on the Humans in AI Week. We're going to provide that in the description on YouTube. And what pledging your voice in AI means is that you can share what your thoughts are, share what your emotions are, and share what you feel about like this AI, incoming AI revolution. You can also contact me on WhatsApp, which will also be provided in the description, or email me at jordan.elizaga@guahan.tech, which is a good segue into the guahan.tech corporation. So Guahan.tech is a managed service provider, IT infrastructure service provider, as well as an AI solutions implementer for your organization. So we partner with Anthropic, we partner with this Atlanta-based company called Next Layer, and other companies that can help you get from application to productization to public facing technologies for your customers. So yeah, that's
That's,
right.
so that's great. Can you tell us more of the specifics? Where, what time, what day, all that kind of stuff.
So the event is slated for June 2nd. I'm still currently looking for the best vendor that can host the amount of people that RSVPs. We're looking between 30 to 50, but it depends on like the final, like, what I can secure by the end of the week on Friday. But if you do RSVP, I do send email blasts, which will update you on what the location will be. And feel free to email me and I'll keep your name listed so that when the location does get updated, I'll send you that notification personally.
Okay. So what kind of conversations do you hope happen in the room next week?
I mean, one conversation is how do you feel about AI? How does your family feel about AI? How does your friends feel about AI? And how do you feel about AI? And that's on the emotion and human side of things. And on the AI collective side of things is how have you used AI in your life to help improve your situation, or uh, help you save time so you can spend that time on more meaningful tasks, like spending that time with family, or pursuing more productive endeavors, or enjoying life in a better way.
Okay. What at the end of the day do you want people to walk away with after attending this event?
At the end of the day, I want my attendees to know that there is a community on Guam that they can talk to, that they are aware exists, and they see the size of this group of people. Because I was very shocked when I came to New Zealand and saw the size of people that are interested in pushing AI and are advocating for the general good and use of AI. So if we can get that same vision on Guam, that group of people who are interested, that group of people who want to benefit humankind, then I would say it was a very good success.
Outstanding. All right, let's shift gears again, right? Kind of look long range, broader, more strategic, right? You obviously been an advocate for AI and technology in general, right? So, what do you think Guam schools and the government of Guam should be doing right now to prepare students for this AI powered world?
The two things, so for Guam and Guam schools, I support what you're doing. I think what you guys are doing are great. I am a product of the Guam school system. Guam education uh, My mom worked as a nurse at Pinagayan. I went to high school at JFK, and I graduated from JFK and went to school in the States. But so all I'm saying is like the structure of the program on Guam is good, and is very good. And we have the technology, and with everyone on their cell phones, that they can use that same device to augment their learning with or without AI. They can watch YouTube. They can ask questions that they couldn't ask their teacher because either there was no time. There's all these reasons. You can use it as a tutor, as a coach to help students learn and what is needed. And what I also offer is guided roadmaps on what to learn. If you're in, for example, Algebra 1 and you're missing this topic, then I'll give you some prompts to ask so that you can get yourself up to speed with the classes that you need to take. And so you can still have a tutor if it's still not clicking, but that AI model just helps people get closer and closer and closer to our educational objectives that we have at the Guam level and at the national level. And in terms of professional development, this is where my expertise comes in. Is I teach you how to use an AI model. I teach you how to use Claude Code. I'm training to become a Claude Code and Anthropic partner, a Claude Code certified architect. And what that means is when you have an app idea and you are currently either using Replit or Lovable or some kind of app, then I train you, and my team can train you to take these apps that are useful for Guam businesses to market, to go to market strategy, to reliability, and even train you on how to like find investor funding and how to do pitching and where to go for pitching and how to do it on the island. So I am positioning myself as the resource for cutting edge technology on Guam and for the
Okay.
people of Guam.
Okay. Outstanding. What should local businesses and entrepreneurs be doing right now on Guam to kind of move things forward?
I recommend using AI, and it could be a free plan, it could be a pro plan, it could be OpenAI, it could be Anthropic. I support Anthropic, but you're free to do whatever you want. Um, and it's to fix your emails, help you schedule things, teach yourself things, coach things, ask me questions. But remember, the AI is just a tool, and the AI um, has been given answers trained on something else. So truth comes from somewhere else, and to not rely too heavily on AI to where it. I mean, I joke that sometimes when I have a lazy day, I ask AI, "What should I do next today? Like, should I go to the mall or should I, you know, just lay in bed?" Yeah, I get it, but for the most part, you know what I mean. You want to use AI
Yes.
to help you be better and to better your life and to better the life around you, to serve others better.
Yeah. All right. So final question, big picture, right? What is your big picture message to Guam about why this moment in history matters?
I think it matters because this technology is going to change the course of human history. And Guam has a history of being changed through outside influence. And finally, we have an opportunity to make that change internally and have a global impact.
Yes. Outstanding. Well said. Jordan, thank you for coming back to the Innovate Guam podcast and for helping lead this important conversation on AI and technology. Um, for my listeners, I hope that you learn something. I certainly do. Before we close out and sign off, Jordan, do you want to give the contact details again for yourself as well as the Humans in AI event?
I got you. So again, the QR code is here. It's on Luma. We're gonna have a description. My WhatsApp is +1 671 688 7638. And my email is jordan.elizaga@guahan.tech. And you can also find me on LinkedIn under the same name. And what I want to give to the audience, and thank you so much, Rob, for hosting this event on such short notice. Amazing questions as always. I love your podcast. With that said, Biba Guam.
Viva. All right. So thank you, Jordan, for all of that. But more importantly, thank you for leading this important event for Guam. I really appreciate you getting out there and trying to bring the right kind of players together so that maybe we can put something together to take the island forward. For all my audience, remember to follow me on all social media platforms, including Substack. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to stay up to date on future episodes. And don't forget to check out my Innovate column in the Pacific Daily News every other Friday of each month. Until next time, I will see you, and remember, whether at work, at home, or at play, always innovate. Thank you.